Welcome to Mindset, Mood and Movement, a systemic approach to human behavior, performance and well-being. I'm Sal, and in this episode, I'm going to talk about why we might be stuck in a line of thinking and a line of behavior. Now, I'm a mindset coach first and foremost, and I love to work with the mind because mind is everything. Everything we think, everything we perceive, everything that's going on is filtered through our story, our beliefs, all the mental architecture that we are. So if you're looking to change, one of the big things we want to work on is the mind, the psychological piece, as much as we want to work on the emotional and body, which we'll get to. But what I see, and you might like this analogy if you're into the body, is a form of homeostasis. Now, if you're not, I will explain. Homeostasis is our physiological balancing of the system. So heart rate, blood pressure, internal temperature, all the settings that keep our body healthy and alive. And it's a really elegant balancing of the system, you could say. Now, that's natural and normal and healthy, and that's a good thing. But if we have a same premise around psychological homeostasis, that our mind is always trying to find out that calibration, that coming back to what we know, coming back to what it should be, that would make a lot of sense. But if we have been dysregulated, if we have had a difficult upbringing, perhaps it's not even been like that. It's just the story of your life, and you've encoded how you think in certain ways that are no longer helpful. Then what can happen is the mind gets stuck in its recentering back to what it knows. It's like it goes back to baseline, so to speak. Now, if you are stuck, that would suggest that we've got a pattern, a thinking pattern, a neurological, psychological thinking pattern that is repeating. Now, in cognitive science, it's often called status quo bias. And status quo, well, stuff remains the same. So here's the thing. If you, probably like me, have had a problem, like belief problem, and you've doubted yourself or you've been uncertain about something, you try really hard to figure that out mentally. You try really, really hard to think your way through the problem. Does it work? Probably not. Most of the time it doesn't. So it's not a thought-led problem. And this is interesting because if it's not a thought-led problem, then we need to go to different areas of that structure, so to speak. This is where I think if we start to look at how the whole nature of our thinking, feeling, being process is happening. So for example, I used to be quite an anxious individual. I used worried about what people think about me. I'd overwork, I'd be an absolute perfectionist, and it caused me a lot of stress. And in truth, it was just unhelpful, right? Perfectionism is an unattainable goal. It's a psychologically rigged game. Excellence, on the other hand, is fantastic. Perfectionism, you can generally only lose. So you're basically playing to lose all the time, and that's not helpful. So if you vibe with this, then you know what I mean. So this example of being, overly anxious and worried about being perfect caused me a lot of problems until I understood that that was because a long time ago, I had absorbed the learning that I needed to be perfect. I needed to do something so good that people would love me and think I'm amazing, that they would accept me. Now, these are core human values, and I have them, you have them, we all have them. The problem is that wanting for acceptance and love and recognition was maladaptive in its way. So I was working too hard, putting too much energy in, getting too stressed, and not really getting what I needed. So when I worked on the problem, and I worked with a psychotherapist on this, which was super helpful, and I've done layers of work on this, but what we did is we looked at how does this come about? And I use this in my own coaching methodology now. So we look at the thinking part. What do you say? What is the narrative? What do you say to yourself? What do you say to other people? What are the words that keep you in that homeostatic baseline? I've got to be the best. I have to work so hard. Whatever it is, you want to name this and know this. So I capture this stuff audibly on my phone, but you might want to write it down. So that's the first level, level one. We start with what do we think? What do we say? The second is the emotional charge. What emotions go with it? So if, for example, your emotion is one of, it's a startle response. Well, we're shifting straight into that sympathetic nervous system, upper chest breathing, jacked up a little bit. And you're going to go one of two ways with the sympathetic nervous system. You're either going to fight, which is go towards the problem, or flight, which is get away from the problem. There's generally only two things to do. It's a mobilized state. And that is all good unless you're always trying to run away from it. And this is a big problem for people who have an anxiety bias or, a bias towards those experiences, because they're never moving towards the problem. They're never solving the problem. That's not their fault as such. It's just you've got stuck in a neurological way. So when we unpack the emotional side of it and really understand, like, what's the emotion? So there'd be, you might describe it, I'm afraid. The neurological state might be, I'm in flight state. I want to get away. Can't handle it. And that becomes the next layer, the subterranean layer. And then we go underneath that again and we look at the meaning. What does it mean? What does it mean to be perfect? And for me, I had to look at what does it mean not to be perfect? Because that was where the answer was. Because if I wasn't perfect equals, and I can give you every label you want to hear, failure, rubbish, this, that, and the other. That's what I had to learn. Just some circumstance in my life had curated my mind that way. So the problem was I was living with this pattern, perfectionism, and overly anxious. I kept defaulting to it in our description of like psychological homeostasis, and I didn't know how to change it. So if you are struggling with this, take the 3 layers of the mind, the mental construct, and understand and write it down. Go into the feeling of this. What do you feel like? Name it, feel it. And then we go into the meaning side of it. What does it mean if you do it? What does it mean if you don't do it? It's really revealing. The final step, and this is missed a lot in coaching, is that what does your body do? Some of us have more interoception than others. That means the feeling of all the sensations that's going on within the body. But you will have something going on. For some of us, it's a tension point. Jaws are classic, shoulders are classic. It could be the belly, it could be throat, doesn't matter. Somewhere in your body will activate. You may even have posture, a shape, a collapsed state, maybe a defensive state. Something will go on physiologically that you will experience both within, as in the feeling within your body, and around your physical shape. Embody what it feels like in the negative state, and then physically change. So if you change your physiology, it already changes the feedback signals to the brain. If you manage your breath, you're starting to get control of your nervous system. And then if you wire in, layer in those things of like unpacking the meaning, getting the emotion and the belief, then we start to pull it all apart. And the homeostatic kind of rigidity breaks. Really wonderful when this happens. So if you are stuck with a particular pattern like I've described, try this out, replay this, capture the notes on this, have a go, see if you can take yourself through these steps, because you will just default to baseline. And the problem is if the baseline is maladaptive, it's gone wrong for some reason, we need to shift the baseline. So that is one healthy, powerful strategy to do. Let me know how you get on. As always, you can drop comments on where you've picked up this post. Leave me a comment, send me a message. I'd love to hear how you got on. And till the next time, take care. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe. And if a friend would benefit from hearing this, do send it on to them as well. If you would like to get in touch yourself, then you can go to my website, which is saljeffreys.com, spelled SALJEFFERIES, saljeffreys.com. Hit the Get in Touch link, and there you can send me a direct message. If you'd like to go one step further and learn whether coaching can help you overcome a challenge or a block in your life, then do reach out and I offer a call where we can discuss how this may be able to help you. Until the next time, take care.